Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, I've got some really big news for you. Apparently, Eddie Hearn has offered a significant offer to Kell Brook to fight Conor Benn. I think for a fight in June. I don't know whether Kell Brook's going to want such a quick turnaround, especially at this stage in his career. But I think if Kell Brook doesn't accept that fight and he accepts it for a later date, I think Conor Benn will fight in April. This was always expected. I think Kell Brook always had the appetite to fight on, whereas if Amir had won, I think he was going to retire anyway, or he was going to call it a day. Kell Brook also, for me, the reason why he has the appetite to fight on is because of the fact that Kell Brook didn't really get the opportunities when he was young in his prime. So he still has the hunger and he still feels like he has something to prove, where Amir didn't really have anything to prove because he had already fought a lot of top names, beaten a lot of top names, and he felt like his legacy was already secure. Kell Brook hasn't really beaten a lot. You know, he's beaten Sean Porter and he's beaten, obviously, Amir Khan, but it was a, you know, kind of like a, it didn't mean anything because Khan was so washed up and he was like not even a top 30 welterweight at that point, where it doesn't really mean anything in terms of legacy. Yeah, he won the bragging rights, he beat Khan, but, you know, everybody knows that was a totally washed up Amir Khan. So I feel like Kell Brook still wants to prove something against someone that's more relevant at world level, because like I said, he hasn't really done a lot at world level, you know, apart from beat Sean Porter. So he feels he's still got a lot to prove. So I think the hunger's still there. Unfortunately, the skill and the ability, the talent that he once had isn't there. And I think a lot of his fans, him himself, is being flattered by the fact that he beat Amir Khan, not taking into account how bad Amir Khan was at that point in his career, where I've said it in the past, I don't even think Amir Khan would have beaten British level fighters at that point, in that point of his career. That's how far gone Amir Khan was. So can you really take much from that fight? I don't think you can. So what next for Kell Brook? Now, obviously there was talk about Eubank, Benn. Obviously now it looks like Eddie Hearn has made a strong play for that fight, which I'm not surprised. Eddie Hearn knows that Kell Brook's a stepping stone. He's a big name. He can use Conor Benn. You know, that fight would be a massive fight on DAZN. I think that's why Eddie Hearn's trying to make that fight, because Eddie Hearn's not been able to get big fights over for DAZN. It's been pretty poor of late. This would be a significant step in the right direction. Kell Brook's a big name. Conor Benn would make for a massive fight. I don't think it's a pay-per-view fight. I think they'll do that on normal DAZN. But I feel like that'll be a step in the right direction in terms of it'll be a big fight. There'll be a big anticipation for that fight. And also, Conor Benn's a future star. They need to find opponents which people would think are credible and worthwhile, with a name, so then the fights would sell. And also that would probably get more subscriptions on DAZN, because I think people would get DAZN for that particular fight, because I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think the fight will happen. Like I said, I think if Eddie Hearn offers Kell Brook enough money, which I believe he will, then I think Kell Brook will be taking that fight, because like I said, Kell Brook still has the hunger and appetite, because of the fact that he feels like he never got the opportunities in his younger days. But unfortunately, I don't know whether it's the right thing. Look, a lot of people around Kell Brook, Johnny Nelson, you know, Matthew Macklin, they're not around him, but, you know, people that are giving him advice are saying he should retire. And I agree. I think you should go out on a high. I don't think it's going to get like... If Kell Brook was capable of competing at world level still, I would say fair enough. But he's not. He's not capable of competing at world level. And any top welterweight, top 5, top 10, even beat him quite comfortably, beat him easy. And I don't see what he's going to gain out of fighting Conor Benn. I don't see what he gains really, apart from money, which, like I said, Kell Brook hasn't earned the money that Khan's earned. So for him, that payday would be, you know, a payday that will help him, you know, secure his future still. You know, even though I think his future secured, I still think it's a big payday, and Kell Brook's not financially blessed like Khan was. So it'd be definitely another good payday for him, where, you know, it can add to the retirement fun kind of thing. So I can see why Kell Brook wants to take the fight. The only thing is, I don't think it's going to end too well for him. I think Conor Benn is very young, fresh, young, fast, powerful, explosive, punches really hard. He's got a good chin. I just don't see Kell Brook winning this fight, to be honest with you. I think that fight with Amir Khan flattered him. I think he fought a guy that was more shot than him. But I said in my prediction video when Amir Khan was going to fight Kell Brook's going to win the fight. If you remember, me and my brother did that video prior to the day before the fight, and I said Kell Brook would beat Khan because of his style age is far better. And I didn't expect Khan to be that bad, but I also kind of predicted that I wouldn't be surprised if Khan's terrible, and he was even worse than what I actually thought. And that made it easy pickings for Kell Brook. But I actually predicted that I think Kell Brook was going to stop Amir Khan. I actually thought it would be more brutal. But I think Conor Benn's all wrong. I think he's too fast. He's improving. He's going in the right direction. He hits too hard. I just think he's gonna batter and stop Kell Brook if they were to fight. I don't see Kell Brook. Like I said, I don't really make predictions on emotion. I just make it on what I think. That's why I picked Kell Brook to beat Khan when I made that prediction the fight day before, because I knew that stylistically at that point Khan's style isn't going to age well. He has a young man style, and that's why Kell Brook won that fight. In terms of this fight, Conor Benn's all wrong. He's too young, he's fresh, he's got a good chin, he hits too hard. How does he win the fight? How does Kell Brook win the fight? I don't see it. I don't think Kell Brook's a big puncher. I've never thought Kell Brook. I thought his punching power was always overrated at world level. Not to say Conor Benn's world level, but I think Conor Benn's got a good chin like his dad. And Kell Brook is not a big puncher. He's not going to hurt Conor Benn, even though Kell Brook's a big guy. He's not a big puncher, and I think the last fight against Khan proved that. Look, Khan was totally shot to pieces. He wasn't known in his prime for taking a great punch, and he didn't get knocked down once in that fight. If that was Conor Benn in the ring with Amir Khan would have gone to sleep, because Conor Benn has explosive power. He's not a big guy, but he has very explosive fire. He has those fast twitch muscles like Gervonta Davis does, like Canelo does, like Keith Thurman does. They have explosive power. They have the kind of power that can wipe someone out. Not to say Conor Benn's done it at any kind of level, but if you look at the knockout against Algieri, he put Algieri to sleep. He has the ability to do that. Kell Brook's a more thudding puncher. You know, Khan's a puncher who is more stun you. You know, Kell Brook's more of stunning, but he has a bit more power than Khan. But he's not a big puncher. If you look at all of his career, he's never put anyone to sleep. You know, he's not a big puncher. He's not hurting Conor Benn. Conor Benn's too young, too fresh. He's too hungry at this point. So the problem is, if Kell Brook was a really massive puncher, and I thought, you know what, he has a chance, I think Kell Brook will do well in the fight. I think he'll do well 1 or 2 rounds until Conor Benn starts landing some big shots on him, and then I think he might just crumble. He can't beat Conor Benn at this point in his career. In his prime, yes, he beats him, because Kell Brook was far more sturdier. For me, he had far more in his arsenal. But Conor Benn's improving. He's young, he's hungry, and there's a reason why they want to make that fight. Eddie Hearn's not stupid. If he knew Kell Brook was dangerous and he was a top contender, they won't be making that fight. But they know that Kell Brook's at the stage of his career where he's kind of done. So, and they know that Amir Khan was totally done. You know, Eddie Hearn said after the fight that Khan was totally shot to pieces. You know, he knew. And he knows that Kell Brook's not got much left as well. He just had more left than Khan. And Conor Benn is at the peak of his powers. Yeah, I just think stylistically, I think Conor Benn at this point is all wrong. I actually think that Kell Brook should probably fight Eubank. Probably has a better chance. Even then, I don't think he wins that either. I think the best chance that Kell Brook would have is against probably Danny Garcia and Thurman. Not to say I'd be picking him in those fights either. But I think against Conor Benn, it's all wrong. I just think the style's all wrong. I think he's too fast, too young, too fresh, got too good a chin. I know Ben's been down early on in his career, but that was really early on. You know, and the way Ben knocked out Algieri was a guy that he had a decent chin in his prime, but he knocked him spark out. Like that was a bad knockout. Like I said, Kell Brook couldn't knock Algieri out like that. Kell Brook ain't got the power to knock someone out cold like that, you know. So again, Conor Benn is, even though he's a smaller guy than Kell Brook, he's the bigger puncher, in my opinion, out of the two. Conor Benn has explosive power. Brook doesn't have explosive power. He has thudding power. That's respectable. But at world level, he's never really troubled anybody of any kind of note, you know. So I don't think this is going to end well for Brook. I don't, and that's why I think he should probably. I think the best would be to retire, but he's not going to. He's not going to. Let's be brutally honest. I think the millions that he gets paid for this fight, I think is going to be enough to entice him to take the fight. But personally, if I was Brook, I think I would be looking at more Thurman and Garcia. Because if he wins those fights, he gets a lot more credit as well. And he'd be fighting somebody of his era. Why fight somebody who's young, up and coming? What's he going to... Even if he beats Ben, what credit is he going to get? Ben's not done much in the game at this point. For me, he can only take a beating. I don't like that fight, to be honest, for Kell Brook. I think you should look for probably a Garcia or Keith Thurman fight. But I don't think he's going to be looking to take... I don't think... Are those fights going to be realistic? I don't know. I'm not sure if those fights are realistic at this point. Although Ben Shalom said that Garcia and Thurman were in contact with him, you know, about a fight. So I don't think Eubank and Ben do a lot for him in terms of his legacy. I think a Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia fight, because I think both of those guys would be favoured to beat Kell Brook, right, at this point. Both of them would be favoured to beat him. So he gets more credit if he wins against those guys. You know, I would personally, if I was Brook, I'd look at a Danny Garcia fight. I think that makes a lot more sense. You know, again, I'm not saying I would be picking Brook against Garcia or Thurman. I just think the fights are much better for him, even though financially they might not be as much as the Ben fight. But I just think it makes a lot more sense for where he's at. And those guys are kind of at the end of their career as well. So I just think it makes more sense. I do. And he gets more credit if he wins. What credit does he get for beating Conor Benn if he beats him? Nothing, really. You know, not a lot of credit at all, to be honest. So I personally think that, you know, Kell Brook should probably look to navigate himself into a Garcia and Thurman fight. And Garcia said that he would love to fight the winner of that fight between Khan and Brook. So why not Brook go down that road? If he fights Conor Benn, I think he gets punished, you know, and I think he gets stopped. I like the Garcia fight. Because if Garcia can't hurt Brook, you know, Brook might be able to outpoint. Listen, I'd probably favour Garcia by stoppage, but I think Brook has a better chance in that fight than I would give him against Conor Benn. Not to say that Conor Benn's a better fighter than Garcia. It's not. It's just stylistically, I just think Conor Benn's too young, too fresh, too fast, hits too hard, and I just think he'll wipe Kell Brook out at some point. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think about the fight. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.